think they used to do Christmas in July.
Oh, well,
But I
anyway.
think it was just special, just like special gift type style items that you could buy for cheap for
Hmm.
presents for Christmas.
Okay.
Was their plan? I don't remember though details. I made that up. I can't make it up because this is what I think.
Oh,
So I didn't really make it up.
okay.
That's just what I think.
The other point that we were talking about earlier is the Mandela effect. And when you showed me that movie quote from Ace Ventura, where he's like, "Oh, I guess you're the Monopoly man." How would he know about that if that wasn't a reality? He wouldn't just make stuff up. I mean, yes, he's making things up as a joke, but he's referencing real things. Everything he's
Because
doing,
the
he's
guy has a
referencing
monocle.
real things that were real at that point. So
I really am not sure about it though, because I mean,
that would be like a
I
proof
guess, I
point for
guess when I,
that.
I guess when I see it, it does somewhat seem normal, but at the same time, I always, again, I can't stop thinking that maybe I'm just double downing on the Peanuts guy who had the monocle, and it's just they
He
both
didn't
had similar
say he didn't
mustaches
but the thing is he didn't
and
say
top
the
hats.
peanut guy. He didn't say the peanut guy. He said the Monopoly guy. He would have said the peanut
Oh,
guy if that was the case.
but that's not as funny. The guy, the Monopoly guy, flows off your tongue. Peanut guy doesn't really flow off your tongue.
We could have said the nut guy. You sound nutty just like that one nut guy. You know, he could have made it funny. He's a funny guy. He can make anything funny.
Jim Carrey, you can make anything funny.
I'm serious. Funny guys can make almost anything funny. You could just come up with stuff. Once you perfect your
Yeah,
art, once you perfect your art at something, you're good at it. You're damn good.
he probably could be like, "Well, that sounds nutty, Mister Peanut."
Yes, he could have said that. Exactly. That would have been perfect, dude. That would have been
Right,
perfect.
right.
But he didn't because he wasn't referencing that because it wasn't as big as Monopoly. Yes, people love their nuts, but Monopoly was like one of those big games we played when we were younger growing up. It just
Because the guy
was.
was really small. What I would have still would have played out. The guy was so small. He could have
Yeah.
been called a peanut. Like,
Yeah, yeah, he could have done that. He could have done that, but he didn't. I'm just saying that is a great reference. I can't believe you found one because almost nobody's ever found an external reference to say, see. Now, anybody that's done the Mandela effect, nobody's gone there, with the exception
really, you
of.
say that's like an original. That's like an original thought. I thought about that a long time ago. I never thought people didn't know about it. I
But the
never read it
Mandela
anywhere. I
people
guess.
that were all on about that stuff, they never thought to do any cross referencing. The only other thing I saw was there was a history book referencing Mandela dying in prison that somebody found somewhere else, and they said, no, that was wrong. Well, why would they put it in the history book if it was wrong? Did they just get
I
the
don't
bad
know. I
information? Was but if there's
but I like
more
what you.
if there's more proof to the pudding for this, then that says that either there's some time travel that's happening or some kind of magical effect that might be scientific that's happening that is changing. We're seeing different slices of reality, like what you're saying earlier, like with your kid. He sees a different reality that he thinks
Yeah.
you're in.
Well, let me explain the story then, so if you understand.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna go
the,
get a
the
drink here,
other.
but I'll be right back. Go ahead and I can hear you
Right.
anyway.
So,
But
so my child is 2 years old, and the other day we were running and playing, chasing each other. While I was chasing him more, and he is running zigzagging, and then he also starts like bobbing his head up and down. And I realized like he thinks that because he's making it so like confusing for him to be able to walk, that I'm getting myself confused. And so he thinks that my reality is his reality. And the thing that makes me think about it is immediately we would say, well, he's wrong. But it makes me wonder, why would a baby be instilled with this thought process? In fact, they're even more instilled with it. And you can say, well, it's for survival. They have to believe that they're connected with their mom, so they can, get the
yeah,
nurturing and all that kind of stuff. But I think that that's more the point. That well, why does it change? Why do we suddenly, oh, now you're grown up, you have to start, accepting reality and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I suppose you can say, well, you know, you shaking your head doesn't change my reality. I can clearly experience that. But I think that there's more of an in-depth look into that. And I think along the lines of that whole, you know, Nobel Prize of there is basically saying that reality is not as we necessarily perceive it. It's like, you know, it's interesting to me of, you know, how, you know, immediately when I watched that video, I messaged you and I said, you know, it goes right into the idea of why we say Jesus is the light, because the light is the knowledge, it's the word, it's the experience, it's literally being created as it hits us. I mean, that's it. It like the world is basically Schrodinger's cat. That, you know, you don't know what's on the other side until the light basically comes and hits us, and that's the thing of it. And it's kind of cool because, you know, even though it seems all instantaneous, when we start getting into these massive distances with stars, and we can start realizing like the measurable effects of things, it's just really fascinating to realize like how light works and how information works amongst getting to us. And, you know, I'm starting to wonder, you know, like what's really out there and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's kind of
Yeah, I think it makes
it's kind
sense,
of
you know.
but we're never gonna, you know, I mean, we're never gonna listen. If heaven isn't about getting to go to space and wandering around, I mean, we know space is like mostly empty. You know what I mean? Like there's other star, and there might be other planets, and it might be cool if there was really like life on these other planets. But it's like we'll never get there. You know what I mean? They're light years away,
I
and
think
like
space is more
we're
of
nowhere.
a soup of electrons and different random things floating around there. Could even be extremely hot, considering all the heat that comes to us. You know, just as hot as we are from what the sun gives us, we get closer to it. How much hotter can it get? But, you know, if you just
Well,
think about it, like the vicinity that you are to your lamp, the closer you get, the more you're going to burn yourself. So if we try to go closer to the sun, even just in space, how hot can it be? Could it be even 100 times hotter? How hot could it be?
it's a,
Because the distance to light, all light creates heat. Because
I think it's like 2,000 times hotter, something like that.
so so that kind of makes me wonder, you know, it's like could they get out in the atmosphere? Yeah, but how far could they go? Maybe that's the reason we're not always going back to the moon and we're not always going back to these places. Maybe it's just super fucking hot out there and we can't survive the heat. Maybe that's why they send the probes. Maybe we can only, you know, because we can only survive so much temperature as a body. Maybe the spacecraft can. Maybe that's why, you know, people think some of that stuff was faked. Maybe the fact is they want to go, they can get past it, but you can't physically survive in the heat or the cold of space, depending upon what it is. You know, I don't know. I'm not an astronaut. I've never been outside, but I just kind of
That's what I
wonder.
mean.
I
Like,
wonder about some stuff because, like, scientifically wise, we hear a lot of stuff, and then 10, 15 years later, it's like a whole different dish we're being fed. It's like,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
what's the
I wonder
truth?
stuff.
You know?
I was just saying, you know, I was just saying that earlier today. I was like, it's so weird how like if we didn't have this or that science, like we wouldn't have any clue. Oh, the world's gonna do. It's so weird how like. But I mean, what are we? Our count. We were saying that was this last episode. We were saying like our calendars from one generation, our years are from like another system. Our days are from another language and culture. Like we're just such a mishmash of thoughts. You can go to like every grocery store and buy sushi. It's so weird anymore. Like
Like, but
I
you know
don't
what you were
know.
saying earlier with the whole thing with you know,
I mi-
we're here.
I
We can
miss I
influence this reality, but not just that. We influence each other, and we influence each other's reality. because I think this
Yeah.
what you're saying is just the one world. This is the one you were saying that there could be other deities or gods and other systems, but this is the one physical one that exists, which means the other ones, the other
Yeah.
realms out there, would be more of a spiritual kind of thing, or not tangible